Good morning, everyone. My name is Avella Espiritu, and I'm with Red 5, Lean Performance, and I'll be introducing our speaker today. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. I hope all of you are wearing green today. It's St. Patrick's Day, otherwise be warned, you might get a pinch. I already got pinched today, and I don't recommend it. So make sure you're wearing green, and underwear and socks don't count. That's what I heard. So that's why I had to change into my green shirt. So we will be muting everyone during the presentation. So don't forget to unmute yourself when we get to the Q&A period. And we will be recording this session. It's already recording right now for those who could not make it today, or you want to view it again for later, or you want to share it. I'll be sharing our YouTube channel as well too to the group. So we are Lean-YEG. We're a committee of volunteers that runs the Edmonton Community of Practice. We host a Lean Coffee session every third Friday of the month, and we run from September through June. And they usually run from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. At these events, Lean practitioners meet to discuss and learn about the practice and application of Lean in our community. And today is a presentation format from one of our local practitioners on green building standards and Lean in construction. So, so the intro. So today's Lean practitioner has experience in the field of sustainable development in Ireland. It's very topical today, and Canada. And her depth of experience has provided sustainable design guidance and energy efficiency solutions for innovative green building design and retrofit strategies. She is very well versed with various building rating systems, greenhouse gas assessments, energy audits, retrofits, construction and project management, climate resiliency, and risk assessment. Through an integrated design process, she has worked with commercial, residential, and institutional clients in all phases from concept design through to construction and certification. She has a keen interest in participating in research and development projects aimed at creating green building rating tools, and it's been known that she's loves to hoist a velvety draft of Guinness anytime, and twice on St. Paddy's Day. So the Edmonton Community of Practice is lucky to have for our speaker today a lead advanced professional with a specialty in building design and construction, Bachelor of Science and Sustainability Specialist at Morrison Hershield, Cora Kenrick. Off to you, Cora.
Thank you very much. Well, that was an excellent introduction. I didn't realize I did all of that stuff. So hi everybody, my name is Cora, and today I'm going to be presenting to you green building standards and lean construction. But more importantly, as discussed, I am Irish, and I am going to use this platform today to bring an important message. It is happy St. Patrick's Day, happy Paddy's Day. You know, there is no Paddy. I just want to be very clear that Paddy arrived in a bun, not on a boat. So jumping in, so everybody understands what sustainable development is. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations. Everyone knows what the construction industry is, or at least I hope so, because we're all in the construction industry that's on this call today. But our main problem that we face day to day is, how do we combine both? In this industry that we all work in, we need to be able to wear multiple hats. We need to be able to design a building while looking at the effects that the building's going to cause. Is it going to affect the environment? Is it going to affect human life? And what's the effect on the global economy? So where does it all start? It all starts with a kickoff meeting. I'm sure everyone on this call has attended at least one kickoff meeting. The kickoff meeting is normally where we get all our ducks in a row, and we should figure out what type of project this is, what type of construction it is it lean, is it traditional, what building standard are we aiming for, if any. These meetings can go on for several hours or even several days, depending on the complexity of the project. But the main goal is that the team members must explore all the values that underline with the project, and we need to agree. Which I'm sure many of you have been in kickoff meetings that not everybody agrees, and that is why they can go on for several hours. So after the kickoff meeting, we should know if we're doing the old school method of typical construction or if we're looking at the new method. So as we can see from this diagram, typical project delivery, it used to have all the architects design, then we'll bring in the engineers, and then eventually the contractor, and then eventually we'll get the trades in, we're tendering, and you know what, we've blown our budget, we're already delayed, and everything's ramping up. So you can see on the graph that everything goes hell for leather at the end. Is that the right way to do it? Not really. There is the alternative approach of the integrated project delivery. What's cool about this is everyone meets at the start and we all get our ducks in a row and we all have the same goal. So in comparison to this graph, you can see that it starts off and it goes up pretty fast, but it stays the whole time because we're all working together efficiently. This approach works a lot better with green building standards because you don't miss out on credit. So if you had a water meter that needed to be installed, it's communicated with all the trades, all the engineers, the contractor at the very beginning. We don't miss out on those little things. So jumping into green building standards. So anyone who's looked at green building standards knows that there is hundreds. There's so many different types, but today we're going to look at the most common ones used, which is LEED, WELL, FITWEL, and Green Globes. So jumping into LEED, I'm sure many of you guys have worked on LEED or heard of LEED projects because there is a couple in Edmonton. So LEED is leadership in energy and environmental design. It's probably one of the most widely used green building standards. It originally came from the standard BREEAM, which is a European version, but LEED was designed off BREEAM, so it uses the same principles. So what is LEED? LEED's a rating system, but it's a third-party verification system. So it's not the contractor, it's not the architect, it's a completely person who's not in the project team that looks at the overall project. It's a consistent framework, so that's why it works really well with LEED construction because there is a process. We follow the process. So when you look at LEED, there's several different types of LEED projects. There's interior, new construction, operations and maintenance, neighborhood or homes. LEED is like Lean, that it can be applied to any type of project, new or existing. And it is important to know if you have a project and it's not going for LEED, there's no reason why you can't design the project as a LEED project. You just don't need to submit it. You can actually use the whole framework, the whole scorecards, as if you were going to do a LEED project, but just have a sustainable and an efficient building. So when you look at the levels of certification, you got 4. You got certified, silver, gold, and platinum. One key takeaway is to never go in with the amount of points that it recommends. So even though this one says 50 points, don't go in with 50 points because you'll end up getting certified because we always lose a couple of points. It's really nice to go in with a buffer of probably 10%. So when we look at the LEED rating system, we have a scorecard. We have a scorecard with pretty much every green building rating system. The great thing about these scorecards is print them out, bring them to that kickoff meeting, put it up on the board and create ownership. Use this as your guideline of how to talk about the project. Get the engineers to go, can you get this credit? And hold them to that, put their name beside it. So when we look at this, you can see that there's credits and prerequisites. Prerequisite, which is highlighted right now, this is a must do. You can't there's no get out of jail card here. You have to apply for these prerequisites. You have to do it to get LEED. Jumping on now, we look at the credits. It's very important to know that not all credits have the same value. So some credits here are worth 2 points, whereas if you look at indoor water use reduction, it has 6 points. So obviously there's a lot more work to do on this credit to get the 6 points. So it's very important when you're filling out your scorecard, you look at the full requirement of the credit and the amount of points it's worth, because you might only be able to get 2 out of the 6 points. So jumping on to WELL, the simplest way of explaining what WELL is in comparison to LEED is WELL is the wellness of the inside of the building. So what's the difference between WELL and LEED? LEED uses the design and operation strategies, whereas WELL has some of the design elements, but it extends from the LEED strategies. So WELL looks at the building, then the behavior, and then it spits out what the health and the well-being of the occupants are. WELL goes further into programs and policies that influence the health and well-being of people in the organization. So if you have a desk that's right beside a lot of glazing and it gets hot, you might sit someone who runs at a cooler temperature who likes to be warm. So similar to LEED, the rating system allows for new and existing, new interiors, and core and shell. It just does not look at neighborhood or home programs. Similar to LEED, it has 4 certification levels: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Again, do not go in with your 50 points, go in with a little buffer. So before jumping in too deep here, we can see that WELL has 7 categories, and most of these categories overlap with LEED. So this is something that we need to bring up at the kickoff meeting. We would discuss the possibilities of having both standards. We'd do a feasibility study to see if it's possible to have LEED and WELL because they complement each other so well. So we'd have the core and shell maybe as LEED and then the inside as WELL. Having established a lean construction allows for this communication to occur at the beginning of the project, and it allows the team to work and design the building to the building standards. So this is a snippet of the scorecard. A little overwhelming, but it's very similar to LEED. We have the required fields, and then we jump into the credits. Again, points do vary. This is another thing that, as well as your LEED scorecard, you can have your WELL scorecard, have them printed as big as you want, and we can have the engineers, all the team members up and review each of these credits and see what they think is achievable. If we do this at the beginning in our lean construction, at that kickoff meeting, we can get as many of these credits as we want because all the correct team members are meeting at the start. So as I said, each credit does carry a different amount of points. So we can see on this credit, it is worth 4 points. But once we dive a little deeper, there's 3 parts to this credit. So maybe on your particular project, you can only get 3 out of the 4 points because you can only meet part 1 and part 2 of the requirement. So it's very important that if you're working with a team that does not know about the building standards, that they have the guide and they can really go through it to make sure that it's not this, that they can meet the full requirement, so that you're putting into your scorecard the correct amount of points. So far we've discussed LEED and WELL, and now we're moving on to FITWEL. While LEED centers primarily around the building infrastructure, both FITWEL and WELL framework centers around the client and the experience and the condition in the office. A good example of explaining what FITWEL is, FITWEL looks at things like walk-in scores, of like how can people walk to their work. It is also a certification that's committed to promoting health strategies in the building industry, and it's based on prescriptive strategies that was developed over a 5-year scientific research program. So jumping into the FITWEL rating system, in comparison to LEED and WELL, there's no prerequisites with FITWEL. Therefore, if you have a project that's considering WELL or FITWEL, if you can't meet the prerequisites, this is when you jump and change your course of action and jump on to FITWEL. Because if you can't achieve WELL, that doesn't mean you can't get an internal green building standards. You just got to flip what standard you're applying for. So again, I'm like a broken record. Back to the kickoff meeting, have all these options laid out for everyone and having that joint discussion between everyone of what green building standard we can achieve is golden. So as I said, it has no prerequisite. It is point-based. They are all point-based, and then a score is determined depending on how many points you end up with. Standards go from 1 star, 2 star to 3 star. What is really cool to know as well is that FITWEL is cheaper than WELL. So if you can't apply for WELL, you can save a little bit of money and apply for FITWEL. They have 7 health impact categories. The 7 health impact categories are impacts for surrounding community. It reduces mortality, supports social equality, the feelings of well-being, enhances access to healthy food, promotes occupant safety, and increases physical activity. So this is a lot different than LEED, but it's still, its core beliefs are still very similar. So you can see that all the green building standards are very similar, but they have their own job. So LEED, outside, WELL and FITWEL is the inside of the building. Cool example of the FITWEL is in the Stantec Tower downtown in Edmonton. They have 2 bays of elevators, and the first bay goes to floors 1 to 13, and then the other set goes from 15 up. So you can't get to the 14th floor. So if you want to get to the 14th floor in the Stantec Tower, you have to get the elevator up to the 13th floor or the elevator to the 15th floor, and then you use the stairs to go. So they encourage their staff to walk. So the project types you can do through design, or you can do a built project. Teams that consider FITWEL when designing a new project have the most potential in achieving the highest rating, because you can manipulate the space configurations and incorporate strategies during construction. Therefore, like a broken record here, FITWEL or any green building standard is essential when it's brought up at the kickoff meeting, because you have all those team players in the right place at the right time. So now that we've looked at LEED, we've looked at WELL and FITWEL, our last rating system for today is Green Globes. Green Globes is an online green rating system. It's a certification tool that's mostly used in Canada and the US. It's not as common as LEED, but is very similar. But both LEED and Green Globes did derive from BREEAM. So unlike the other ones like LEED, there is no prerequisites. So if you cannot achieve LEED, this is when you would flip over and apply for Green Globes instead of LEED. It's an interactive online questionnaire that you can walk through yourself in a logical sequence of questions. It has automatic reporting, so it reduces a lot of time and a lot of cost. So if budget is a concern, Green Globes might be a better rating system for you rather than LEED. It's no one size fits all, so that's why we have no prerequisites. And instead of a yes, no, it has a yes, no, and non-applicable. So if you have a project that has an option that's non-applicable, that can be achieved in Green Globes in comparison to LEED. Very similar certification standards. You've got your new construction, your interiors, and your existing buildings. Again, they don't do neighborhood or homes. So rating levels, you got your 4 globes, 3 globes, 2 globes, and 1 Green Globe. Green Globes offers 4 rating systems, as discussed. You have to achieve a minimum of 35% to get certified on Green Globes. If we look at how the points are broken down, the 7 categories, like a broken record here, the same as LEED. You got your management, energy, materials and resources, indoor environment, site, water. But it does look at emissions, which LEED does not, but hopefully their new versions will. So we went through LEED, WELL, FITWEL, and Green Globes, but you can see on this slide and in the next slide, there is several different standards, but it all depends really on your location. If you have a project located in BC, you might be more inclined to look at passive house or the energy code, because the energy code does push us. The energy code in BC is a lot stronger than it is in Alberta. So the easiest way to look at any green building standard is like how you look at the type of construction. Have you the right people in the right room at the right time to make all the decisions? If you do, the project is set up for success. So having a project that is a green building and a lean construction, we have all those people in the room at the right time that we can look at each of these building standards and see which one would work for our construction. So if we go through them, we got our LEED, Green Globes, and then the National Green Building Standard. That is looking at the whole building. Then you have your specialized, so you might have your Energy Star, you're looking at all the equipment, your passive house, or your net zero. Or if we look onto the inside of the building, we have our Living Building Challenge, our FITWEL, and your WELL Building Standard. This is a really good cheat sheet, again, to bring with you to the kickoff meeting to kind of go, okay, can we make our building fit well? And, you know, let's also make it LEED certified. So what does lean and sustainability have in common? Both ideologies serve what people value. The ideas are not mutually exclusive, rather than they are complementary. A sustainable building project may or may not include applied lean principles, and likewise, a LEED project may or may not include sustainable building practices, although high-intensity lean projects, they often do. So why should we design lean and green? Well, the construction industry, it needs improvement. We wouldn't be meeting regularly if there was no problems in the construction industry. How many people on the call today have been on a project that was completed on time and under budget? Very, very few of us. Lean and green brings in new dimensions. It makes us think about the impacts of the building on the environment while looking at these green building standards. It prioritizes the client's goal. Clients are now learning the buzzwords. They've heard these words from their friends or from other projects that they've worked on. They've heard of LEED. They don't know what it is. They've heard of sustainability. Again, do they know what it is? Their definition may be completely different than our definition. So we need to bring all of these ideas together and be on the same train, really. So lean and green work well together, and we can see that the green standard rating systems, they want us to work as a team. They give us extra points if we work as a team. So they want to encourage the lean construction. They want us all to integrate, have those meetings, have the right talks. Lean and green, it encourages us to consider other elements that we normally wouldn't consider. We look at the environment. We look at the impacts of the construction industry has on the project. We consider manufacturing. We consider the process. We now look for EPDs of products. We kind of go, oh, how far is that product traveling? Is it coming the whole way from China, or is it coming locally in Canada? These are things that we normally didn't think about in construction 20 years ago, but now we're becoming aware of the effects. So we're bringing it into our design. That results in savings. It looks at the waste streams, and it encourages us to cut down. But most importantly, it makes us look at the bigger picture and the impact that we're having on the environment, the economy, and the people around us. So before I wrap up today, I thought I would give you guys some St. Patrick's Day facts. March the 17th, it's not St. Patrick's Day's birthday. It's just to celebrate him as a person, but it's not actually his birthday. Blue was actually the color that was the most associated with St. Patrick. Green was actually considered unlucky, even though we're all wearing green today. But historically, green has been the color that has been linked to the Irish rebellions. On average, there's over 13 million pints of Guinness served on St. Patrick's Day, and I hope everyone on the call helps contribute to increasing that number for next year. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody and open up the floor to questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Cora. I just do want to say one thing before we open up into the Q&A.
Yeah.
I had one key takeaway that I wanted to share, and that was I really didn't. Lean is about servicing delivering value to the customer, and a lot of times in the projects we forget about the end user customer as well too, not just the internal customers within the project that are creating the building, but who's going to be living in that. And I like how lean and green kind of meld that together and make sure that we talk about the end user and the well-being of them, and as well to the environment, because that's also a customer, just like in the ether as well too. So it's a really good synergy. But thank you for presenting. Before we get into the Q&A, I just want to say this is that our next everyone, if you can save the date in your calendars, our next Lean Coffee will be Friday, April 21st. So save the date. Join our LinkedIn page to learn about upcoming topics. And our LinkedIn page, I'm going to put into the chat. And as well too, a reminder that I am recording this presentation, and I'll be posting it to our YouTube channel. and the YouTube channel, again, I will put in the chat as well too. Go visit it, because there's other really cool presentations that we've done in the past that are really interesting and whatnot. So some logistics for Q&A. If you can raise your hand feature, and we'll go through that for first come, first serve, or put your questions in the chat, and we'll read them out to Cora. All right. So are there anyone who has any questions that they'd like to pose to Cora about Lean and Green, or just Lean in general for anyone that's on the call today? You know, it's kind of interesting as well too. Like, I didn't know that it was the official color was supposed to be blue, right? Where did you dig that one up?
Yeah, it's funny because I think it was because when all the Irish rebellions were happening, we all started wearing green, and then that just took over. It became that it wasn't unlucky anymore because we rebelled so much, so we started wearing green.
Cool. All right, first question up is Luke. Luke, you can go first.
Hey, thank you, and Cora, thank you for the great presentation. Really appreciate it. So I used to work at Dirt Environmental Solutions. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but we did a lot of lead projects and whatnot. And I know one of our major customers was usually people doing like corporate buildings, corporate headquarters, and a lot of them were publicly traded companies. And I'm not questioning why they were going green. Like, obviously, I think everyone should in design green, but I think a big part of their decisions to go with dirt was kind of having those LEED certifications to tie into an ESG report. So in terms of like getting someone like a smaller business, a smaller outfit to go green in their construction, I think there needs to be kind of a financial incentive. And I know long term you can sell them on that, but do you have any tips or ways to kind of sell someone on designing green for a financial incentive for more of a short term? Because I know a lot of these projects, when you source sustainably, design sustainably, it can be quite expensive.
100%. That is the one huge disadvantage I will say about green rating systems. They're expensive, and usually that's the one turnoff, because everyone's going to go, oh, how much is this going to cost me? We hear this on projects every day. How much is this going to cost me? You have like certain people, like certain cities that will have requirements, like you've said, that they'll have to get a certain rating standard, like they have to get LEED Silver. But to get the smaller people who can't afford it, is I always design a project as it's a LEED project. I will use the scorecard from day one, and I'll have it fill out, and I constantly go, hey, just so you know, you guys could actually get LEED Silver. And I keep just reminding them, kind of going, just so you know, like if you ever did, and I always have that option in the back, that kind of, if they did want to submit at the end of the project, they can, because they have achieved the credit, but I always track it internally. But if you are really stuck for budget, I would honestly look at the other not as well known standards, because LEED everyone knows, because we've all thrown a lot of money. We've all built a lot of LEED projects, so that's why it's so well known. But if you looked at Green Globes, it's a lot more affordable. And it's the same thing. It's just you apply for the same credits. All the categories are the exact same. So that would be my advice, is design as if it's going to be a LEED project or a BREEAM project or whatever, and then use the cheapest rating system that will get you what your client needs.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. The next question up is with Karen. Go for Karen.
Great, thanks. Yeah, great presentation. And I like what you just said about that you stealthily are tracking points in the background. I think that's a great idea, so that people, are getting there maybe, or really close, and then they only just have to take a few extra steps to maybe cross that line to get a certified project. But I was wondering, because you had that chart that compared all of the different types of systems and the types of things that get scored. Do you ever find that projects suffer from the client or the project team trying to achieve too many different rating systems, and then it feels unlean because of you know, just trying to get too many different certifications, and not that they would necessarily be in conflict, but it just makes the project convoluted and maybe feels unlean in that sense.
100%. I can even think of the project exactly that's coming to mind that I'm working on. I think especially with the clients learn these buzzwords. They learn lead because they've talked to their other developer friend who's building their project, and they wanna do better than their friend. So they can't have lead. They need to have lead and well. And oh no, Tommy, it has FITWEL and he's too. So I think they try to compete against each other, but I think it's our job to pull the client back and have a successful kickoff meeting first with the client, figure out what their goals are, and then have a feasibility study. I encourage feasibility studies so much, because then you know at the very start if you're going to waste money and time, because time is money at the end of the day. I will always do a feasibility study and look at the scorecards and kind of go, actually, we can't achieve lead, so let's not even talk about it. I am that person who will shut down a lot of conversations in kickoff meetings, because if we can't achieve well, there is no point in discussing it. Let's not confuse people. And I think that's our biggest problems, is sometimes we explore too much. So we need to learn when to pull back and kind of go, okay, these are our standards, we're not looking at anymore. But it does happen a lot, but having the right team members who can stop those discussions when we don't need to have them anymore is essential.
Yeah, so then having that experience, knowing those systems so well, you can see which ones have synergies and which ones would be easy to achieve together, and then which ones are not necessarily working well together and may even sort of be in conflict with each other. Exactly. That's good to set that out right at the get-go, so that you're not spinning your wheels in the wrong direction. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Any other questions from the group? Just raise your hand or put in the chat. I do have a question though, Cora.
Yeah.
So you're Irish, right? Where is the best place in Edmonton to get a draft of Guinness?
Guinness. Oh my God, Guinness is so bad in Edmonton. So bad. But if I had to pick, it would be Old Burns. That would be the second place. The other place has closed down. It used to be the Irish bar in the mall, downtown. That was on the 3rd floor. It was Fionn McEwen's. They had a really good Guinness, but they closed during COVID. So I think Old Burns would have stepped up.
All right. We have one question in the chat. What have been the most difficult lead points to achieve? And the second part is, how has Lean helped get them completed?
I think for me has been the energy modeling credits, because anyone who knows an energy modeler knows that they just go into a little corner in a room in the back and they close the door and they don't talk to anybody for weeks. And you're sitting there going, okay, like I'm banking on 10 points, you know, from Shafraz, and he's not answering my emails. Like, is the model working or not? I think making those guys come to the meetings and actually go, okay, I need this information for the mechanical guy, and going, okay, well, give it to me right now. That's really helped a lot. I've been on 1 or 2 projects where we've had the people in the room at the right time and we can get the answers right then and there. But energy modeling, because it's worth so many points and you're sitting in the dark for a few weeks, it's scary, especially when you're relying on that for certification.
Yeah, having everyone together in the big room and be able to ask those questions right away, it's invaluable.
Well, because they can bring the model with them. We actually had one guy, and he brought the model with him. He worked away while we had our meet, and then he'd just like stop and go, hey, what's this mechanical question? And the model was done by the end of the meeting, and it was great because the client could see what they were paying for, right? Because energy model is so expensive that a client, they don't really have that construction knowledge. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand why the architect's model doesn't work for energy. So when they can see, oh, it's completely different software and I'm paying Shafraz 80 grand for this, now we know why. I'm using Shafraz for all my examples today.
That's okay. I use them for all my good and bad examples as well too. More good examples than bad though.
Thanks, Cora. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
All right. It looks like we're out of questions. So Cora, thank you again for sharing, and thank you everyone for attending. And we hope that you have a blessed with luck this St. Patrick's Day, and you're able to find some sort of okay Guinness, not the best. Awesome.
And if
Bye,
anybody
everyone.
has any additional questions, you can just shoot me an email.
Absolutely.
Thank
And then
you.
we'll be putting this on the YouTube channel, and save the date for April 21st for our next Lean Coffee.